Exhibition Park, the real live fun of harness racing. Here they come, an Exhibition Park.
EPR podcasts. We have Aubrey Wood here for a second time today. So how you doing today, Aubrey?
Not too bad.
Raining again like usual.
Yeah.
Well, that's the first time we did our interview was raining too.
Rained, I think so, yeah.
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 So basically we're doing another one quick because popular demand. Everyone loved the first one.
Well, thank you.
They were pretty excited about it, so I figured, stop back in and go over a couple more things. We've got some pictures we're going to go over and some questions. So I'm going to actually ask one thing because I seen a really cool thing. I was going through, you gave me all them pictures.
Yeah.
There was an article with you. Was it true, or you might have just been joking? You were really small when you first started, they said,
85
right?
pounds.
So did your dad was he really concerned about putting you on the bike to race?
Yeah.
So he was like a little bit...
He didn't want me to get on. He put me on and then he wanted to get me off. He said he's too small, he's going to get hurt.
So you were, I seen that. I thought, well, I read the article. I thought, we might be joking, but I'll bring it up. So.
No, it's the truth.
Yeah, that's funny.
It's the truth.
So I have a couple questions. A couple of horses I brought up. Zeppelin, does that ring a bell?
Zeppelin, yeah. He belonged to the Princeton stables in Maine. I had him in, he was a 3-year-old, yeah.
So when did you have him? Was that in the 60s or?
Probably early 60s.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool. Widow Jessie.
Widow Jessie, they owned her too.
Okay.
They owned her, yeah.
So you had a bunch of horses from them?
Well, I had 3 or 4 every year pretty well for a while, yeah.
Major King?
Major's King, yeah. I had Major's King. I just used to drive him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is an interesting question because me and you talked about this before when we were hanging out at the track one day. So you got your accident in 71.
Yeah.
Did you came back you came back, you weren't racing. I know you said you came back to the track a few weeks later.
Well, I come back. I got out of the hospital after I was in for a week or so. Mm-hmm. And they had the cast put on me and my nose healed up. And then I started passing blood, so they took me back in. Then I was in there for 3 months.
So you came back and raced again.
Yeah.
And then you got another accident.
I got another accident.
Right afterwards?
With Marcel Berrio. Well, it was shortly after, yeah.
So what happened?
Me and Marcel Berrio, his horse made a jump. My horse hooked wheels, and another fellow come along, caught the other side, and tore the bike in two. So I was down again.
So that must have been, were you second guessing stuff then at that point? Like get your second record, were you kind of thinking maybe I might want to do something different here?
No, not really. Not really. That's my life.
Yeah, true. Yeah. It was just, I remember you telling me that. And I was thinking like, man, I think that first wreck would really freak you out. The second one, I'd be like, I don't know about this. I know my father, I heard a story about him. He was racing, I actually had the article. He was racing in the early 80s. Yeah. It was him and Ross McDonald, and they were in the backstretch, and Ross was pushing his horse. And I guess my father knew the whole time this horse is going down.
Yeah.
And he went down, and I guess my father flew into the infield, broke his hip. Yeah. And Ross just fell off the horse like it was nothing. Yeah. And when they got the ambulance, they took Ross on the stretcher and left my father in the front seat. And I think that might be a time to question why you're doing it. And I still remember vividly seeing him in the hospital at that point. I read another cool article. Bachelor Boy N, you were grabbing both lines with one hand. You were trying to get the whip from the saddle, from the sulky.
Under the sulky, yeah.
So what happened then?
Because he used to pull. He used to grab on pretty well, so I put the whip down under. I was sitting on it. Yeah. So I put both reins up the backside. I put both reins in one hand and reached down and grabbed the whip. When I grabbed the whip up, I was up to 3/4 pole and I was going around Power Baron and Scotch Gum, and then like they were standing still. I got the whip out, didn't even need it. He drove right on, and I went in 2-2. That was the best trip I ever drove.
So
that was the fastest.
That's awesome. Yeah, I said that. I see that. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, he was a fast horse.
Yeah, so you had him, I'm Scotch Gum Power Baron would be mid-70s?
Yeah, yeah.
So Bachelor Ben, is that the horse that you had?
It's one of them New Zealand horses.
Oh, okay.
The Milton Downies. I worked for Milton. I worked for Milton from 71 till 80, I guess it was, when I left him. Yeah.
And then you went to the railroad.
Then I went to the railroad after that, yeah.
I know Bachelor Boy N. Is that the horse you had in the Alexander, or you had him in the Gold Cup?
No, he wasn't in. I had Jet Boy A.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jet Boy A in the Cup.
You also did some ice racing, too. You told me that before.
Used to race Gagetown. Yeah.
So how was like that's? I know Marcel brought that up in the last podcast. That's a lot different than racing, obviously.
Yeah, well,
racing.
it's straight ahead. You go a quarter of a mile straight ahead. Yeah.
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 And you got to do a lot of like work to the horse because I mean something that ice is obviously thick enough. You're not worried about it breaking or anything.
Oh yeah, they break. They lose a shoe. They went down pretty well. They slid and everything else if they lost a shoe.
So would there be accidents down there? Like I mean, like we have accidents at the track.
Well, horses would fall down if they lost a shoe. You know, they couldn't stand up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's gonna be like I mean, I've seen accidents in EPR like doing the tapes. Guys like Ricky Armstrong.
Yeah.
He already flew in the air once. It was in like '80s. I just watched the race and it was like the middle of winter when he went down. I was like, oh, I almost cringed just watching him go down like that hard. Surface. I can imagine ice racing.
But on the ice, it's straight ahead. There was no accidents like that. It was just straight ahead.
No turns and stuff like
Only
that.
two or three horses in a race. But
okay. Yeah, that's cool. So I'm just gonna bring up a couple names, just kind of you remember each other because you've been around there forever. Willard Carr.
Willard, I raced with Willard a lot. Yeah.
I vaguely remember him as a kid. I remember his accident in '85. I remember being there on Alexander Day, and that was that was a bad wreck that he got into.
Yeah.
Never.
And his father, Frankie, he drove horses. Yeah.
So So Willard was around since what, the 50s, 40s, 50s.
Well, Frankie drove in the 40s, but Willard didn't. Willard was later on.
Joe Gauguin.
Joe Gauguin, I raced with Joe. Yeah.
So he was here. Would have been what, the 60s probably, 60s.
Well,
70s?
no, he was at the track in the 50s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Joe was.
And Clarkie Smith,
Clarkie.
Is he? I think he's still alive, isn't he?
Yeah, Clarkie's still alive. Yeah. He's still living.
He was on the tack room with Prince Edward Island.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
Yeah.
Herman Renault.
Herman. Raced with Herman.
And Bill Nicholson Sr., who everyone loves Bill. Bill was great.
Yeah.
Basically a second grandfather of me. The question was Steve Mahar. Was he your groom for a bit before he broke in?
Well, no. I drove him here for Mel McLaughlin. I can't think of her name now. But I drove her, and Stevie Mahar was a swipe for her that night. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
There at Newport.
I seen a picture, I think you gave me. It's weird, 'cause your horse won. Maybe it was your father's horse won. And either way, Steve was the groom. It would have been right before he started or something.
No, that was Laird Newport. And Stevie was there. He was looking after her.
Okay.
Yeah, I drove her for Mel McLaughlin. Donnie Capress had her.
Okay, because I remember
drove her that night and it was in the mud.
I remember seeing the picture. It's either they cut you in because you're not in it.
Yeah.
Everyone else is in it except for you.
Yeah.
This is an interesting one for me because I don't really like Francis McCisaac. Like I've heard all the stories about Francis. I never got to see him.
Yeah.
Like Francis basically dominated. Would you say down in the EPR back in the 70s, pretty much?
Well, he won a lot of dashes. Yeah.
Yeah.
He'd truck in with a load of horses on and go home that night after the races. Yeah.
And someone gave him a lot of credit for bringing winter racing here because he brought a lot of the horses.
Yeah, he brought the horses down to fill the classes.
And I know, well, I mean, looking at like his winning, like I would go through all that old archive stuff, but I put up on the page. Yeah. And I mean, anything 76, I mean, like McCisaac wins 4, McCisaac wins 3, like he's winning like crazy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Win a lot of dashes.
This is an interesting one that doesn't really get talked about a whole lot. The Webbies. Did you ever drive any horse for the Webbies?
Yeah, I drove a couple for the Webbies.
Yeah. So,
one thing they told me when I got on the bike, don't get caught in. That was the name you got from Webbies. You go with them, you don't get caught in.
Yeah. So they own tons of horses. I mean, these guys.
They owned a lot of stake horses,
And I want to think they were around, up till the 90s maybe?
Oh, yeah.
Horses? I don't really know when they stopped with the horses.
Well, yeah, they raced horses here, and then they'd race them in Moncton. Yeah.
No, I've heard they were a pretty big deal back then. Trying to think John Davies. Yeah, John was a pretty big trainer back in the day.
Big John had quite a few horses. I drove quite a few for John.
Yeah. I heard he was big on taping stuff, which would be nice if we. I was talking to Chris and all the stuff that he had. Chris like, "No, I got water damage." I'm like, "Really?" Because I got everyone always told me go to talk to Chris if you want some tapes. I guess John was big on just tape and everything.
Yeah.
But he had some pretty big horses back then too, John, didn't he?
Big John had Trotmare. I used to drive for him more than fair.
Yeah.
He had her here. I went in 2.6 with her in Fredericton, broke the track record.
Nice.
Had track record here with her in 2.6, and then they sent her down to Rockingham.
Yeah.
So she was down there with Bobby Stevenson, and she was braking on them, and they couldn't get her going.
Yeah.
So John asked me if I'd go down and drive her.
Yeah.
Well, I said, John, I got horses here. You know, it's a hard job. Get away.
Yeah.
Oh, he said, come down and drive her, Rob. She seems to go good for you. I said, all right. So we left here in the morning, went down. I drove her that night. I went with her in Rockingham.
Yeah.
And Beansy Barton, John Barton's his real name, but they all called him Beansy.
Yeah.
He was in the paddock with me and Big John. We got her. She win that night.
Nice.
And then the next week he wanted me to go back again. I said, no, I can't. So then he put her in down at Suffolk Downs. So he said, will you come down and drive her? I said, yeah, I'll go down. I went down. I finished second with her there. And then he brought her back home. I raced her back home here.
So you guys put a lot of miles in back then driving. That's one thing people don't really talk about, the amount of driving you guys would do to different tracks.
Oh, yeah. It was, well, what is it, 500 miles to Boston?
Yeah.
Well, that's where we were. Yeah.
So you guys would like drive down and then like drive right back a lot of the
time.
Well,
no, not really. We'd stay overnight.
Yeah.
And then come back the next morning.
Yeah. But so like you guys would drive the like Foxborough, stuff like that.
Foxborough. Yeah.
And then like around here, like you had Moncton, you had Charlottetown.
Oh yeah, well that was all just drive over and back, you know that. Yeah. Back the same night.
Brian Moore, that's one. I remember Brian a bit. Not too much. I remember him as a kid, but I only met him a few times. But I was unfortunate. He passed away really young.
Yeah.
A lot of nice things I've had.
He was only 50.
Yeah.
When he died. Yeah.
Very sudden. Very sudden. Yeah. And the nice. I remember. Like I knew all these guys, but this is a blur to me because I've seen them all as a kid, right?
Yeah.
And when you're like 4 or 5 years old, you don't.
Yeah.
But Brian, I remember seeing Brian later as a teenager and being super quiet, like kind of a quiet guy.
Brian had 2 or 3 bad accidents.
Yeah.
At the end of it was kind of getting to him. It was his nerves, I think.
Yeah.
And then.
Unfortunate,
Yeah.
Like, and we would talk about that quick. I'll kind of jump into that. Like when you get into it, like you had your bad accident.
Oh, I had 2 or 3 of them. Yeah.
Like, how does it start to kind of play with your head a little bit after a while? Do you start getting a little?
Well, you think about it before you go out, but once you get behind the gate, you forget about it. Then it just kind of goes away. Yeah.
Are you like more cautious of certain things that you would do?
Yeah.
Say, for example, when you were younger,
yeah,
you'd race a certain way. Would you race a different way after a few accidents, or just kind of go with it like usual?
Well, you kind of get back to your own after you have 2 or 3 drives. You're back to yourself again. Yeah. But I got in a bad one in Woodstock too. I broke every rib and fractured my arm and tore the side of my face. I landed on the hub rail. I went over a horse's back and landed on the hub rail. And I was laid up that time quite a while. I laid up a month there with my ribs.
What year was that?
That was back in the early 50s.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's like them like watching them hub rails.
Yeah. Well, them hub rails was a bad rig. It was great. Yeah. Great when they took them out.
Yeah.
Took them out was a great thing.
I was watching a race in the Meadowlands with Joe O'Brien.
Yeah.
I found on YouTube, and I don't know what it was, but the horse jumped. He was in second, I think. I think he was trying to get up there. The horse jumped. The horse literally landed like halfway on the hub rail.
Yeah.
And Joe went flying, hit the hub rail hard on, like head on.
Yeah.
And it was brutal. Even when it happened to Willard, like when Willard hit the hub.
When you hit the hub rail, you know, you don't move that plank. When you hit it, it don't move.
Exactly. Yeah. No, and it was good that they got rid of it. It took a long time, but it was good. I know now, like with
my father, he raced with Joe O'Brien. He raced with Joe O'Brien back then, back in the 40s, late 40s.
When did your father start? What years? Like 30s, probably. Your father would have started.
Well, no, around 40.
Yeah.
Around 40, he started hauling coal. Him and Everett Benson and Ray Thomas Construction there.
Yeah.
They all got into the race game somehow. I don't know. Bought an old horse and they all were racing it. So.
Because it's interesting. Yeah, I remember I was going through some old articles. Like these were super. I think these were like in the 30s.
Yeah.
And they were starting to revive EPR because they had it in the 1800s and stuff. And They had like a little spike and then it went down and then they were bringing it back kind of thing. But yeah, it's definitely cool. But yeah, that's basically it for the drivers, really. I just kind of put a couple guys down and I thought about it. We actually got a couple questions too, which is on Facebook. I put a couple of things up. So, one question is, if you drove any trotter or any colts to stake victories, I think that's the question.
Yeah.
Just winning stake races pretty much.
I win with a trotter.
Yeah.
Little Dr. Bunner. I win with him, the first horse I ever win with.
Yeah.
And I quit. My last drive was with Win the Big One.
Yeah.
He was a trotter.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of trotters in between. There was Car Hanover, there was the Baker, there was Mary Dillon. I drove pretty near all the trotters pretty well.
So trotters, even like I remember being a kid and going to exhibition week, and they'd have a big purse for the trotters.
Yeah.
And them trotters were like they were very unpredictable.
Yeah.
Like,
but see, there was no like. I had a trotter there one time, and I tried a set of trot hobbles on them. Like we tried something different.
Yeah.
Nobody had trot hobbles them days. Yeah. Now they all wear them.
Yeah.
Yeah. But back then there was no. They jumpers, run and go. And
oh, I remember being at Exhibition Week, and I was with them. I actually have been staying with Paula, probably Bill's granddaughter. It's me and her were really friends. Somebody. But I remember being a girl, and we're watching the race, and it was trotters, and a trotter jumped, and the guy who was on him fell off, and the trotter was just running around like crazy.
Yeah.
And I remember it was like coming like. I don't think it was like over the fence. It's like you're starting to think a little bit like, oh, I better back up. Like,
back off the fence. Yeah.
This horse is out of control.
Yeah.
But I was watching it with my friend, and I remember the PEI one that had some trotters.
Yeah, yeah.
And I knew like right away, I could just see us, they're trotters.
There's lots of trotters now on the island. They got lots of trotters. But back here now, like that one win the big one with, he there was only 5 trotters. That's all they could find in St. John.
They were rare, yeah. They were definitely rare. Yeah. Another question I have you ever heard of a pacer called Danny Boy?
Danny Boy, yeah.
So you know what that horse?
Yeah. Lawson's used to own him. Hayes and Patrick had him.
Okay.
And then Gordon McLeod bought him afterwards. My father had him. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So,
he used to be a puller. He could take quite a hold.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And the last thing before we get to the pictures is me and you were talking, because I did the Marcel interview.
Yeah.
We were talking about Trade and Mirror. You told me the story about Trade and Mirror.
Yeah, well, that was Trade and Mirror. That's when I got in the accident.
Oh, okay.
That was Trade and Mirror.
Yeah.
She used to kind of plant her toes. She'd make it break and stop. Yeah. Remember Marcel said he had scars from Trade and Mirror.
Yeah. I know.
That was her.
What was it? Russell was telling me. That's the thing. Like that horse was just wasn't the easiest horse in the world.
That was one of his poorer ones.
Yeah. Yeah. He wasn't a big fan. No. He kind of gave that a bit idea. Yeah. So I'm going to come over, and I'm going to bring some pictures with me.
Yeah.
And I got them numbered, so because I'll let people in on the secret. Yeah. Basically, I'm going to show them to you, and then I'm going to edit them into the podcast.
I see.
Once we're done, but we'll just go over and just kind of give me an idea. That's basically it for that part there. I'm going to come into the frame here, so people get to see me, I guess. So you might just see the pictures coming out here. So this one here, you just go ahead and tell me.
That is my father.
Yeah.
With Lawyer Grattan. That's the old racetrack.
Yeah.
I'm standing up on top of the thing, canteen. There used to be a canteen there.
Yeah.
And that's Colin McDonald was that horse. Yeah. That's all Grattan with Hayes and Kirkpatrick.
Nice.
And the other one back here, I think, is Tommy Devlin with
so that was
that's back in the 40s, early 40s. Maybe 41, 42.
That's crazy. So So you guys had like.
But that's the old racetrack right there.
Yeah.
That's your Forest Hill up behind it there. There's not a house on it. Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
And this one here.
That's an old mare I raced. I raced her for Herb Kraft, and then I wound up racing her. I bought her.
Yeah.
And I raced her. It's a Secret Affair.
Yeah. We have a couple more pictures of that. Yeah.
That's when I had McFadgen's horses. I had his horses because that's his uniform, McFadgen's.
Yeah, it looked. Yeah. Because I remember when I looked at it.
That's McFadgen's uniform. I used to wear his uniform.
So I looked at it. I said, "It looks like Aubrey."
Yeah.
But I was like, "It's not his initial."
That's McFadgen.
So it confused me.
McFadgen's uniform.
And I mean, really, well, this is the same. That's just you and Linda.
That's the same mare. Yeah.
Back then.
Linda and me.
Yeah.
That's Linda and me with Secret Affair.
Yeah. No, that's a very cool picture there for that one. I love that 70s stuff.
Yeah.
But, like, I see that 70s stuff, and it kind of like makes me like. Yeah, this one here, another Tua, I think a Tua.
That's another 2. That's the horse that belonged to McFadgen.
Okay.
That was a 3-year-old. That was his first race. I win with him. Yeah,
nice.
Yeah. That was another 2.
This one here, this is you, as a youngster there.
That is Amy Girl.
Yeah.
That little mare there, Lloyd McKinney bought her from a fellow in Fredericton. She was laid up all winter.
Yeah.
He gave my father 2 weeks to get her ready to race. Now, she wasn't out all winter. Look at the size of her.
Yeah.
And he gave her 2 weeks. He trained her, and then got her ready in 2 weeks, put her in the box.
Yeah.
And I was down to drive her, so I drove her.
Yeah.
And I drove her a couple of times, but she was kind of a fussy little thing. So Lloyd was paying me $5 to drive her. Lloyd McKinney owned her.
Yeah.
So he paid me $5 to drive her. So he went into my father and he said, Curry, no need of me paying up $5. I may as well drive that mare myself. Well, Dad said, you own her. You do what you like, Lloyd. Yeah. That's up to you.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll drive her. So we put, Lloyd was down to drive her. He took her out and he went to turn her. She'd only turn one way. He went to turn her the other way and she stood up straight.
Oh, wow.
He started hollering, come over to the paddock. He started hollering at me, Bob, come and get on this thing. I'm not going to drive it anymore. So I got to drive her again.
That's funny.
Then they sold her to Jimmy Wiggins over in the west side. They had the drive-in theater.
Okay.
And they bred her and she had a colt. Right. And then they had a windstorm, blew the barn down and she got killed.
Oh, that's a sin.
Yeah.
This here is your dad.
That's my dad with a horse called Monty Budlong.
Yeah.
That horse had a dead heat with him. I drove him that night. Yeah. He had a dead heat with timetable.
Yeah.
Timetable's hundreds win.
Okay.
We were only inches apart at the wire, and they both wore the same kind of rigging. They both looked alike. Yeah.
This is you. You're super young. Are you like 15 in this picture here?
Yeah. That's Dr. Bunner. That's the horse I win my first race with.
Yeah.
I win with him in I win double dash. The fellow that owned him gave me $50 when he come down and give it to me.
That's not bad.
That's me. Like I drove him. Like I'm only a kid.
Yeah, you're young. I mean, I'm guessing like 16.
16. Yeah, probably.
This one here, Little Scout. This is from June 18th, 55.
Yeah, that's Little Scout. I'm winning with him.
Yeah.
That's Milton Downey with Selma Lou on the inside.
Yeah.
Royal Junior and Old Al Angel. Old Al had some pretty horses.
Yeah.
And that was his son with Principatina behind him.
Okay. Yeah.
So, yeah.
And this one here, it's Cherry Frost. This is the horse that you owned.
That was after I quit driving.
Yeah, I just put it in there because I thought it'd be kind of cool.
I had her after I quit driving. That was Ross McDonald.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ross is a guy I haven't heard about for a long time. I don't know. Is Ross still around?
He's still around. He's still around the track. Yeah.
And this here is Tim Rossetti winning the Riverside Mare seat for your father's memorial, Curry.
Oh yeah.
Wood Memorial.
Yeah.
It was funny as I looked at that and I thought, like, Tim's a great guy. I thought, why is that in there? And then I realized, it's because it's father's memorial. Yeah. That's why I figured it out.
Yeah, well, that was the memorial.
Yeah, for him. Yeah. And there's your father again. I think it's your father again.
That's my father was, what did I say that horse? Donald G.R.
Yeah.
But that's the old grandstand behind him. Yeah. Yeah, that was when they first turned the track around.
So because you were saying before the track was the opposite way.
Opposite way, yeah. So it was over the other side.
So yeah.
The back stretch was the home stretch.
So
the back stretch now used to be the home stretch.
Yeah.
And the barns were all over there.
Okay.
On the back stretch on the Golden
So it made them change it. Was there any reason to changing it, or
they turned it around? The fellow that bought it.
Okay.
Fellow in St. George. What was his name? Oh, Louis Acker.
Okay.
Louis Acker. He bought it from George Kane.
Yeah.
And then he turned it around and put the big grandstand up.
Okay.
He was only an outside grandstand on the other side of the track.
Yeah. And then the grandstand stood till 2010s.
Yeah.
I remember that place, like that grandstand. Like I remember being up there one day, waiting for my father to finally won a race.
Yeah.
That sounds horrible to say he finally won a race, but at that point it was racing much. And I was at the top of that grandstand.
Yeah.
And I got down there so quick.
Yeah.
I ran. They probably thought I was being chased because I ran down the grandstand, down the stairs outside, and ran to the track.
Yeah, but see, when Lawson's and them bought it, they put the roof on it.
Yeah.
It never had a roof on it. It was always just open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a big deal, especially in the winter and stuff. Yeah. So we have this one here. And sorry for the numbers. It's numbered for a reason because I have it set up on a computer, so I got to make sure I know when it's. But that one there is.
That was Bodas Ab, my father.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're say like year wise, that would be like, you don't get an exact year, but idea when that might have been.
Bonus Ab. Let's see. Well, around 59, 60 maybe.
Yes.
Yeah.
And here is, this is you a Pilot Chief, I guess, no?
Pilot Chief, yeah. He was a nice old racehorse. Yeah, I used to race him, yeah.
Yeah, nice horse.
That looks like Jimmy Lang on the outside of me there. Yeah. He used to work for Milton Downey.
Okay. And this one here is from July 11th, 1956. And it's you with Little Scout again.
Little Scout, yeah. Yeah, I bought him from Lawson's.
Okay.
Lawson's had him and I bought him. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have that one. This one here, Miracle Simu. I can't pronounce
Miracle Simaloo.
Yeah, Simaloo.
I bought her from Big John Davies.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I raced her. She won 5 in a row.
Okay.
Yeah, he's gambled over.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's that. And this is your last win that you had. Now, was that,
that's the last win I win with, win the big one.
Yeah.
And that's Mikey Doyle there finishing second with his. But then there was 3 more behind that. They were way back.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the trot class. Ingham put that on, that trot class.
So question with that, was that like your last day racing, or did you still race a little bit?
I had 1 drive after that.
Yeah, that was it. Okay.
But that was the last trotter I win. That's the last win I had. I drove once more, and then that was it. That was my last drive.
So you started in...
And then we sold this horse to Roach McGregor.
Okay.
As a 3-year-old. And Roach raced him right up till he was 14.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you raced from, what, the 50s?
51.
51 to 87.
51, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good career. And this one here, I'm going to take that little thing off. This is you. You can describe that one to me. I got to say, here, just I'll let you move that.
That's a mare John Dixon bought.
Okay.
At Harrisburg. Yeah. That's a 3-year-old. Yeah. I never got to race her.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know what happened to her. Something happened to her. But, yeah. That was her. I wasn't too old there either.
Yeah, you're pretty young. Maybe early 20s.
Yeah.
And your last one, this is a picture that I came across. This was a fun picture to scan. I had to move it different ways to get it in there.
Yeah.
But this picture, describe that one to me, because I know Wally's in there.
That's a picture taken at Old Home Week on the island.
Yeah.
That's Murray Calder, which is gone. Charlie Price.
Yeah. Charlie.
That fellow there come along with Wally.
Yeah.
There's Wally there.
Yeah.
And that's Gordy.
Yeah.
That's me half cut off.
Yeah.
I'm not half cut, but I'm half cut off.
Because I was funny as I was doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was trying to when I got it, I was trying to angle it. I'm like, what the hell's going on with this picture? And then I looked like, oh, he's cut off the picture.
Cut off, yeah. I cut off. The picture wasn't wide enough. The camera wasn't wide enough.
You know what's interesting, and I'll be quick and we'll finish up, but you made a pretty interesting comment to me. We were down at the track one day. You never bet. You're not a better, right?
Never bet.
It's just your
I bet one time years ago.
Yeah.
And I was driving this mare. I think it was Nellie J. And the old man had You'll See.
Yeah.
So we put maybe $20 a piece on this You'll See.
Yeah.
She was going to win.
Yeah.
See, so all right. Who goes by her at the wire but me? And I win. I win the first race.
Yeah.
Oh, so we lost all our money.
Yeah.
So they said to get the money back. Now, I don't know. I don't know. It wasn't a lot of money anyway. But to get the money back, we were putting it on You'll See the second heat.
Yeah.
She was going to, or Nellie J. put it on her the second heat.
Yeah.
So anyway, go out, don't You'll See beat me in the second heat.
Yeah,
I said, I'll never bet again.
Yeah.
And there's only once after that I bet, and I bet with, what was his name? Ewart.
Yeah.
Gary Ewart.
Yeah.
He got me to buy a ticket. I said, no, I don't want to buy. Oh, come on, Bob. Spend $6. Jesus, don't be scared of $6. I said, it's not the money. I just don't bet. Oh, he said, come on, bet. So I bet, and I still never won.
Yeah.
So I said, that's it. I never bet again.
Yeah, I'm not big on it. I bet a little bit, but I don't have much luck.
No,
I think I won, like...
I didn't never bet. Because, like, really and truly, I had a public stable. Now, it was 4 or 5 different owners.
Yeah.
Now, if I start betting, what were they going to say?
It looks bad, yeah. And I mean, I know guys do bet, but I get what you're saying. Because you're the guy driving.
Yeah.
So you betting on the horses, it's like the whole Pete Rose thing. Like you bet on baseball.
Yeah.
You know, maybe he wasn't betting on his own team, but who knows?
I know one night I was driving for Mel McLaughlin. He had, what did he have? He had Bodeview James, and he had another little horse. I had 2 of them.
Yeah.
So this was a Wednesday night. He came down to me before the races, and he said, oh, look. He said, don't win tonight. I said, why, Gordy? He said, well, I got company coming on Saturday.
Yeah.
And he said, if you win tonight, he said, I'd like to see the horse win Saturday.
Yeah.
I said, oh, yeah, is that right, Gord? Yeah. So anyway, go out. I come to the head of the stretch, and I reached up and I tapped him, and I went right on by, and I win it Wednesday night, Wednesday.
Yeah.
Mel never come over. He always come over to the barn. He never come over.
Yeah.
So I said, that's all right. So he probably want to shoot me, but I still won with the horse. He never come out to get his picture taken or nothing.
Yeah.
So that was all right. So next morning I went down to feed the horse. I never left there till 12:30 or so time I got them put away. So I left the barn and I went home. Went back till morning, went to feed. Here's the 2 horses. No horses in the stall.
Oh, they took them.
He come over and took them after 12 o'clock to give them to another one. Well, I tell you, he gave them to Willer Carr.
Well, yeah.
So they went out Saturday. They never win. So I said, good. How's that treat you?
I know. I've heard some stories. We'll leave it at that, right? With that. So, well, that's awesome. Well, thanks again for coming on again, chatting with us. That was great. If you want to know more stories, I'm more than welcome. But you can talk all day for me. But that was great. Now, because we had a good feedback from the first one, so I think everyone will like this. And
we'll see how this one works out.
That will be good. So I appreciate you coming on, Aubrey.
All right.
And
all right, Scott. Thank you very much.
All right, buddy.
Just watch it, live it at Exhibition Park. Come on and live it at Exhibition Park. The real life